little 24 volt ESC Corvette here. We switched over to the stock rear wheels so that we could do some drifting. Show them how this thing drifts, buddy. Hey guys, welcome to CKC Garage, and I'm Jonesy, and today we are going to talk about the Fisher-Price Powerwheels Corvette C7. So, a little backstory is they've been out for quite a while. The original version that came out was 12 volts. So it had the gray Powerwheels 9.5 amp hour battery, this guy right here. And then at some point in time, Fisher-Price thought it was a good idea to start producing it with the wimpy red, I don't even know how many amp hour this is, but the 6 volt. So it was advertised as the fastest Powerwheels at 6 miles an hour at one point in time. And then what happened was maybe there was too many kids crashing into crowds or something, kind of like Mustangs. I don't know, but they decided that it was a good idea to change the wiring harness over to 6 volt and just basically ruin it. So it was 3 miles an hour, really lame. So for years I avoided this model. It's teeny. If you can see it in comparison next to this safety first Corvette, it's teeny. So I figured it was way too small. It was 6 volt. So I figured it was like one wheel wonder, because most 6 volt Powerwheels only have one gearbox. So to clarify all this confusion, because there's a lot of debate online, it is the exact same motor and gearbox, which is a number 7R with a 23 tooth pinion. Well, what does all that mean? It's got teeny little tires, so it has to have a bigger pinion to rotate more distance per revolution to get the same speed. So in stock form, the 12 volt was 6 miles an hour. This one right here was a stock 6 volt, which we've left the stock wiring harness in there. So it's 3 miles an hour. So I'm trying to help you guys out because I'm constantly being messaged or called about what do you recommend, what's your favorite unit, blah, blah, blah. So this one right here, if you can find it used, because I don't believe Fisher-Price produces this anymore, it's an awesome little unit. It's deceptively big in the cockpit. So why don't I go ahead and start with the pros and cons. Some of the pros, I think that it's got great styling. It's very proportional. It's not kiddyish looking. If it didn't have this steering wheel here and you took pictures, I mean, it looks very realistic. A lot of the details are pretty accurate. I already mentioned a large cockpit. So if you can find the stock 12 volt, it's going to save you a little bit of finagling as far as getting it faster. Personally, I think that the 6 volt is a better buy, because in the shifter it only has forward and reverse, so it doesn't have the series wired for the low speed and then reverse. A lot of people complain that in low speed and reverse it lacks traction. It's because the motors are in series. There's way more to it than I'm going to get into in this video. Another nice thing I think about it is it's a small unit. We've got probably 10 of them in stock right now, and they're so much easier to store and to move because it's small, but it still facilitates a big kid. So those are the positives. Some of the negatives, there's not much room for modding as far as adding bigger batteries for a runtime. Typically we install 12 volt 12 amp hours, and if you want to boost this thing to 18 volts or 24 volts, there's just not that much room. There's a little bitty compartment underneath the seat, and there's a little bitty hood area where you can put just a gray top. So if you try to put a universal 12 volt 12 amp hour, you're gonna have to do some trimming. Otherwise it's gonna stick up through the hood, or you don't run the hood. That's an option. Another negative for us, because we love adding lights and realism, is there's no dashboard. The steering wheel is right here. The legs go quite a bit down in there, so there's not really much area to put like a keyed ignition or a voltmeter or light switches. So really you're limited to the shifter cover, and that's where we've put lights on this. So another thing that we like to do is obviously add lights. So we've got the headlights you can see in the video. We've got custom taillights back here that we put these 1-inch LED pucks, I call them. It does take a little bit of effort. You have to desolder this and wire up each one individually, and we put 3 per side, and it looks pretty cool. And as far as the headlights, make sure you get eagle eyes that are really small. I believe I measured these with the calipers at 19 millimeters. Some of them are got a bigger base, and you're gonna have to grind it to get it inside that lens cover. So one of the negatives, yeah, it's 6 volts, so it's 3 miles an hour in the newest version that they sold. Either one you can overvolt, which we'll talk about that in 1 second. And then the last negative, which to me is the biggest one, but it's easily remedied, is the hubcaps in the center are a pain in the keister to remove. It's literally impossible to get them off without damaging them. When we get them off, we don't put them back on. We do a lot of custom wheels, so these are actually dipped in carbon fiber hydrographics. What we do is we just take the spindles, put them in the vise, and we thread each spindle and put a 7/16 lock nut on there. That's our remedy. It's easy to get these off for doing gearbox changes, motor, removal, stuff like that, because these units are actually pretty good for racing. Mel Robinson, he's doing a drag racing series down south. He's been trying to get us down there, but we're just too busy with our own dirt kart racing and stuff like that. But a lot of his winners and the builds that he does are these Corvettes that he overvolts. He actually bought one of ours from us, drove up here and bought it from us. So let's get into it, because what you want to know is how you add lights, how you add speed. The aesthetics of it are, hydro dipped hood and stuff like that. That's something for another video. But for the rear lenses, because all they come with is stickers, we take a piece of Lexan, and first what we do is we put tape over the lens, and then we trace around it, and that'll give us our template. Then we put that tape right on a sheet of Lexan, trace it out and cut it out. I'm more than likely going to do a video dedicated just to that, and a step-by-step. I get a lot of people asking to do videos of it, which I'd rather be working than stopping and videoing and all that stuff. So rear lenses, and then you got to space it out and drill it, so there's quite a bit involved. So I'll probably do a full-on video for that. For the battery, so like I mentioned, it's stock 6 volt. Pretty boring. So you can basically pitch this if you're going for speed, and you got to take off the motor cover here. And once you do that, you can install a stock one if you've got a bunch of units out there, but you'll have to change this plug. So if you're going to change the plug, you might as well go with a universal, unless you've got spares like what we have. We actually have tons and tons of parts that we use for these. So my vote is, if you guys are modders, you more than likely have tools. So the best bang for the buck is no less than a 9 amp hour, preferably this 12 amp hour battery. We're diehard Milwaukee fans. So we have this 18 volt, 12 amp hour battery, and we get these 3D printed adapters from Terra Firma. We'll put the link in the video description, and it literally plugs in. You cut your harness, and you're going to install black wire to black, because that's negative, and there is indicators on the stock harness, so you want to cut that off, but leave it long just in case you do have to solder it back on. And this will literally fit in the hood, especially once you remove the battery cover. And you can put, Must have a loose connection there. I see my headlights going wonky on me. So once you do 18 volts, you can expect 8 to 9 miles an hour speed boost over 3 miles an hour stock. I think that's pretty much it as far as the overview of it. I just wanted to clarify that there's two different models. If you guys can find one of these, Fisher Price clearanced them out. We bought a bunch of them at 99 bucks. That was a full ready to run ride-on with battery and charger. So if you can find one 50 bucks, 80 bucks or whatever, I would recommend buying it. And it's a great unit to start modding. They look sleek. There's things you can do to add lights to them. Corvette C7 that was, I don't know, 15 miles an hour, way too fast to put a small kid in. But I get into that because RC isn't a bad unit, because this right here would protect the kids. So they're down in there like a Jeep or something like that where they could fall off the side. Little kid, probably not a good idea. But RC would be a great unit to convert to a remote control and then put a 5-point harness here. So if any of you guys want one of those, give us a message and we'll talk about the build, get you some prices, and it'd be a cool little Corvette, especially if Dad has one. We'll do a mini-me. But anyways, guys, I think that, oh, one last thing. So this over here is a safety first Corvette. It is huge. What we're gonna do is we have spare spoilers. This one has a spoiler on the back, and we think this is gonna top it off. It's obviously not gonna be yellow. We're gonna paint this. Probably not red. We might just do a graphite gray or black. I don't know. I don't want it to stand out too much, but we get a lot of requests on where'd you get the wing on that, is why I set that there and was going to get it in the video. So what that is, it's a C5 Corvette made by Safety First, and that's where we get wings. So if you guys can find one of these, we have to pay like 30, 40 bucks for these things. Another option, Daniel Lyles can hook you up with a 3D printed cool spoiler. So that's another option. All right, guys, that's it for this episode of CKC Garage. I appreciate you watching. Give us a thumbs up, notification bell. Make sure you click that so you get video alerts when we upload our next video. And now that racing season is over, we plan on doing tons more videos. Got more ideas of builds than I have time for. So hopefully we get time to video, edit, and upload those videos for this fall season. All right, guys, thanks for watching. All right, so here's some bonus footage of how you can take the stock 6-volt and add the old Milwaukee 18-volt battery. So this is the stock harness so that it's unmolested. You have to take an old battery. A lot of times they don't last. They get overcharged easily. So you cut that off, which that's what this is right here. So on the negative side, and you can do either one, we put a 30 amp fuse. So it goes into the fuse, out of the fuse, and into the battery adapter. Positive comes directly out, and we use male and female crimp connectors going into the white wire, which gives you, that's full juiced, that's a 12 amp hour 18-volt battery. So that's going to be the equivalent of like a Powerwheels, a Peg Perigo 12 amp hour battery, but it's actually half the size. Probably less. But put that guy in and prepare your kids for some neck whiplash. The voltage of the stock 6-volt, plus you're not going to have voltage sag because that is a high output. So we'll probably get